everybody? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. Tonight, we're going to be discussing how Fede Alvarez, director and writer of 2024's Alien Romulus, is not returning to the director's chair for the upcoming Alien Romulus 2. But of course, make sure you are hitting that follow button, hit that subscribe button, no matter where you are tuning in to catch this episode. We got a lot of great horror content on the channel right now, a lot of really fun stuff coming up that I do not want you guys to miss. So again, wherever you are tuning in, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. But let's go ahead and jump on into things and talk a little bit more here about this Alien Romulus 2 story. Now, 2024's Alien Romulus was pretty much the injection that the Alien franchise needed to get back on the right track for a lot of people. I am a big fan of the two prior films before Romulus, Alien Covenant and Prometheus, but let's just say that critically, there is a lot of division about whether either of those entries are actually worth a damn to a lot of Alien fans out there. Financially, it's an up and down story. So Romulus was made for an $80 million budget and ended up bringing in $351 million worldwide. Those are pretty good numbers, honestly, and it makes sense why we would be looking into another sequel almost right away. The previous film, 2017's Alien Covenant, was made for $111 million and it ended up bringing in $241 million worldwide. So at that point, we are already $30 million more than what Romulus cost to make, and we've brought in over $100 million less than what Romulus did. So not so good of an outlook there on Alien Covenant. Let's go back to 2012's Prometheus, made for about $130 million budget, and it brought in $403 million worldwide. Now, there's about a $50 million discrepancy there you could bring in, both in terms of the budget and in terms of what they made in the box office as well too. So honestly, it's almost like it's a wash on both sides, and you could say that Prometheus ended up making the same amount of money that Romulus did. But again, Romulus sticks out because that $80 million budget, that is considered low for a big tentpole in a franchise. That's a very low budget, honestly, and it's still making the same thing that a movie 13 years ago had the ability to make. So you can understand why there's some fever about getting the right team together here to make the sequel to the best well-received Alien film in decades. It's important to note here, though, Fede Alvarez, he's never directed a sequel to one of his films before. Evil Dead 2013, Don't Breathe. While he did write and direct both of those films, he didn't return for the subsequent follow-up there. In Don't Breathe's case, he did write that script with writing partner Rodo Sayugues, but he's the one that took over directorial duties for that film. So it's not exactly a cause for panic to see that he's not coming back to it. I think that for a lot of us who are big fans of the Alien franchise, and I am a huge fan of Covenant and Prometheus. I don't fall on the latter side of those there, but it's easy to understand why somebody like myself and a lot of other fans who are very impressed with Romulus would want to see Alvarez coming back to direct this next film, because he's writing this one, or he's written it already as well with Rodo Sayugues. So we'd want that familiarity back on board. But the comments that he released basically implied that nobody comes back and does a second entry in the Alien franchise. Ridley Scott barely got a chance to come back and do two, because remember, Ridley Scott did the original Alien and then he came back in 2017 to do Covenant. And the plan was he was still going to do a few more films in the Alien franchise after that, but the reception of Covenant kind of scuttled the rest of that, and we ended up with Romulus and the TV show Alien Earth instead. So it's not crazy to think that Fede Alvarez is saying that the plan was never for him to come back and do a second one, that we have to kind of take that at face value here. What I will say, though, is that during the production of Alien Romulus 1, there was a story that came out that said that Fede Alvarez really wanted to use the character of David, an android that was featured both in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, played by Michael Fassbender. David was appointed by Wayland Yutani, or by Peter Wayland himself, to basically accompany the expedition in Prometheus to find the engineers and find the path to immortal life. We move on to Alien Covenant. David returns again as another antagonist, where we find out he's done some truly, truly despicable things, and this time has been crafting and crafting and crafting, and eventually does get us closer to the xenomorph we know and love from the standard Alien franchise. Now, Covenant ended on a cliffhanger here, with it turning out that David had taken the place of, I believe the other android was Michael, was its name, and if I'm wrong, tell me in the comment section. But David ended up masquerading as Michael, and basically was going to use the rest of the remaining crew here to use for his experiments. Now, I would have loved to see a continuation with that. Clearly, Fede Alvarez wanted to actually touch upon that as well too, but Ridley Scott denied it, just in case there was a chance that he might return back to the director's chair in the future, or those items, those story points might be picked up in something else. It seems weird. It does seem weird, because if you've seen Romulus, you know there are some direct nods to both Prometheus and Covenant in there. So Alvarez very much was making sure to hold a place that we weren't just going to cross out those entries that are, again, are wildly decisive amongst a lot of Alien fans. But there have been rumors popping up that while developing the script here for Alien Romulus 2, that Alvarez again was requesting to use the character of David, and again was shut down, and that this might actually play into the reason more as to why that Alvarez is not returning into the director's chair for Alien Romulus 2. What is interesting, though, is that this past weekend, there have been rumors popping up here, because Fede Alvarez was at a convention and talking about directors who might be, be able to step into the seat and take over here. He brought up Demian Rugna, who, if you know that name, that is the director behind such films as Terrified and 2023's When Evil Lurks. Some absolutely insane horror films. He also did a segment for 2022 Satanic Hispanics. Fantastic works that this man has put together. It is brutal. It is unflinching. It is something to where if you are not good with the worst things happening to anyone, not just people who deserve it, but literally anyone, it is hard, especially with When Evil Lurks, to sit through that thing and not just feel the absolute insanity that's going on. With that, though, a lot of folks, and yours truly as well, is excited to hear this news, because if there's a possibility that he could be stepping into the director's chair, then we know that, again, we're not pulling any punches in this case, and the script is done. Let's be clear. Fede Alvarez and Rodo Seyogues have already written the script for Romulus 2. It's ready to go at this point here, so Rugna would just need to step in and get to directing at this point. But I have to imagine that we are stepping up the brutality, because the first Alien Romulus was no slouch in the least bit. It was not nice to that crew. They're doing a little bit of scavenging. It definitely played some dividends and had some of the most brutal deaths that we have seen in the Alien franchise in years. So I can only imagine what's up Alvarez's sleeve here for Alien Romulus 2, but I do think it is an exciting development that we could potentially get Demian Rugna stepping into that seat. I think a lot of us probably assumed that it likely would be Rodo Seyogues who was likely going to take over directorial duties, as that's what happened with Don't Breathe and Don't Breathe 2. And there has to be a little bit of trepidation from fans around that, because ignoring the writing work that's been done on a lot of their other projects, Don't Breathe 2 just was not up to snuff. I think it was a bit misguided to try to put our bad guy of the original film suddenly in the hero or the anti-hero spot here in Don't Breathe 2, because there were some deplorable things that he was doing in that first film, and it's not something that we're easily just turning our heads around on. So I made a joke a while ago that we're about to see our first good xenomorph, and of course Alien Earth apparently beats me to the punch. Please, God, let that xenomorph start tearing people up here in the season finale. Please don't make me look stupid here now. But either way, we're getting close to a start date for filming on this. David Johnson and Kelly Spraney, who are both expected to return here for Romulus 2. We just saw The Long Walk with David Johnson in it. Excited to see him come back here as Andy again. Fantastic role here. But again, shooting's got to be picking up sometime in the next few months once we get this director on board. So I'd imagine within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're probably going to get a firm announcement on it, because I was under the impression Romulus 2 was was expected to start filming this October. So maybe that's getting pushed back a bit here with the directorial choices, but I guess we will see. This is an exciting development one way or the other. I am curious what y'all are thinking here. Let me know in the comment section if you have a director that you would like to see step into the reins here for Alien Romulus 2. What do you think about the idea of Demian Rudna taking over? If that does end up happening, how do you feel about Rodo Seoge's possibly doing it as well too? I want to hear everything in the comment section, folks. Let me know what you're thinking about that. And of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, no matter where you are tuning in here. We got a lot of great stuff coming up, including reviews for Street Trash, the original Toxic Avenger, more Alien Earth, more Dexter Resurrection, Night of the Reaper. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up for y'all. I do not want y'all to miss that at all. But that's going to do it for me here tonight, though, folks. Appreciate you tuning in for this update. My name is T. We'll be talking scary movies. Stay scared.